Most men wait for the moment she dresses up, when her hair is done, her lips are painted, and her energy is magnetic. Then they say, "You look beautiful." That's the easy compliment. That's the obvious one. But here's the truth. What women secretly crave is something far more subtle and far more powerful. They want to be seen when they're not performing, when they're in their natural state, when they're quiet, when they're not trying to impress. That's when the need for validation runs deepest, and that's when most men stay silent. You see, a woman may receive compliments all the time, but those compliments are usually directed at the version of herself she curates for the world. What's rare, what's intimate, and what hits differently is when a man notices her in the moments just thinking or reading or laughing without trying. That's when your gaze carries the most weight. Because in that moment, she's not looking for approval. And that's exactly when your approval feels real. Silent validation isn't about flattery. It's about recognition. It's the way you look at her when she's not watching. The energy you radiate when she walks into a room and isn't trying to be noticed. Women feel that. They sense the shift in your attention. And when it comes without a prompt, without makeup, without effort, that's when it feels the most sincere. That's when she begins to feel safe in her natural self. What does that kind of safety do? It disarms her. It softens her. It allows her to relax into her femininity in a way few men ever get to witness. Because a woman who feels accepted when she's raw and unfiltered is a woman who no longer has to protect herself from judgment. She no longer performs for love. She simply exists in it. And there is no version of her more magnetic than the one who feels free to be seen exactly as she is. The mistake most men make is reserving their validation for curated moments. They don't know how to admire presence. They only admire presentation. And that's why their words fall flat, or feel transactional, or fail to make her heart open. She doesn't want to be praised only when she's polished. She wants to be recognized when she's real, when she's vulnerable, when she's not expecting praise at all. So the next time you're with her, don't just compliment her when she's dressed up. Don't just say something when she's laughing loud or looking flawless. Watch her when she's doing nothing. Observe the quiet moments, the way she furrows her brow when she's thinking, the curve of her back when she's curled up in silence, the softness in her eyes when she's not trying to hide. That's where connection lives. That's where intimacy begins. And that's what she craves, even if she never says it out loud. Because the deepest desire isn't to be praised. It's to be seen without having to ask. There's something incredibly quiet but deeply powerful that women crave from men. It's not flowers, not fancy words, and not grand gestures. It's reassurance, offered without needing to be asked. Most men wait for a signal. They wait until she looks worried, until she breaks down, or until she finally says, "I just need to know where we stand." But by the time she asks, she's already exhausted from holding it all in. Emotionally intelligent women, especially, often won't verbalize what they need until it becomes too heavy to carry. And by then, it's no longer about reassurance, it's about recovery. What most men don't realize is that the desire for reassurance isn't rooted in weakness. It's rooted in emotional risk. When a woman starts to develop feelings, when she starts to open herself up emotionally, she enters unfamiliar terrain. And when a woman feels something deep, her mind immediately starts asking questions she may never say out loud. Is this safe? Is he consistent? Am I imagining this? Will he stay when I stop being easy to love? This internal dialogue happens quietly, often while she's smiling, while she's showing up, while she's giving you access to parts of her that most people never see. And in those moments, what she secretly hopes is that you will affirm her without her needing to perform emotional CPR. She wants you to notice her uncertainty and ground it with presence. This doesn't mean constant compliments. In fact, it rarely means words at all. It's about the tone of your presence, the calm in your voice, the way you say, "I've got you," without needing to say it literally. It's how you return her energy with consistency, how you stay steady even when she wobbles a bit. Because women don't want to lead emotionally. They want to feel that the man they're opening up to can hold them emotionally. And this is where many men fall short. They wait for a breakdown before stepping up. Or worse, they get defensive when she questions the connection. But understand this. When she asks, "Are you sure about us?" she isn't doubting you. She's doubting the silence. She's doubting the space where reassurance should have been. The men who win a woman's trust aren't the loudest, richest, or most charming. They're the ones who can read between her lines and respond before she has to spell it out. They make her feel chosen without her asking. They remind her of her worth without her prompting. They reassure, not reactively, but proactively. So ask yourself, are you emotionally aware enough to notice when she needs anchoring? Can you step in with clarity and stillness before she has to plead for certainty? Because when you do that, when you become the calm in her emotional storm, something shifts. She starts to let go. She starts to trust. And she begins to bloom in ways she's never felt safe enough to before. Because a woman who feels secure without needing to ask for it will give you parts of herself no one else has ever earned. One of the most underestimated desires women carry, yet rarely voice, is the longing to be chosen publicly, not just privately. Many men think intimacy happens only behind closed doors, in quiet moments or whispered affirmations. And yes, that kind of connection matters. But what many don't realize is that for a woman, being seen with pride in public is a form of emotional confirmation. It says, "You're not a secret. You're not just someone I like privately. I'm proud to stand beside you, and the world can see it." This goes beyond posting her on social media or making dramatic gestures in front of crowds. That's performative. What she truly craves is the subtle, sincere signal that she's being chosen, not just when it's convenient, but when it actually costs you something. And it's a promise. It's something that could be in the way you introduce her in a room, how your body language changes when she's near, or how you let others know that her presence matters to you. And believe me, women are masters at noticing these small things. She sees when your eyes light up around her in public. She sees when you protect her space in a crowd, when you naturally reach for her hand, or when you listen attentively, even with others around. These things don't scream affection, they whisper it. And in those whispers, she feels loved. Now here's the mistake most men make. They're affectionate in private, but neutral in public. They don't realize that what feels like staying low-key or protecting privacy often lands as emotional hesitation. It sends the message that she's good enough for your arms, but not for your image. And whether you mean it that way or not, she feels it that way. You may think she's being dramatic if she questions why you don't claim her publicly. You may assume your private consistency is enough. But what you're missing is this. Women equate public recognition with emotional safety. Not because they want attention, but because they want alignment. If you're consistent behind closed doors, but ambiguous when others are watching, she starts wondering if she's being compartmentalized. She wonders if she's being chosen for comfort but not for commitment. On the other hand, when a man signals you're mine through simple, natural gestures, even just through the energy he carries beside her, it changes everything. It quiets her doubts. It settles her nervous system. It lets her exhale in your presence because she no longer has to wonder if she's being hidden or held back. So ask yourself, do your public actions match your private affections? Can she trust that your consistency extends beyond text messages and late-night calls? Because the men who build lasting trust aren't the ones who say, "I love you," the loudest in the bedroom. They're the ones who show, "I choose you," the clearest in the daylight. A woman who feels claimed without being controlled, chosen without being displayed, and acknowledged without having to beg for it, will give you a kind of devotion most men will never understand. There's a difference between being physically present and being emotionally present. And women feel that gap more acutely than most men realize. A man can sit beside her, share a meal with her, sleep next to her, and still not be there. His body is present, but his attention is scattered. His mind is elsewhere. And to a woman, that absence isn't just noticed, it's felt deeply. What women truly crave is emotional presence, that stillness, that rare kind of masculine attentiveness that doesn't need fixing, interrupting, or performing. She wants to feel like she's being listened to with the heart, not just heard with the ears. And here's the key. Most women won't ask for this directly because many don't even know how to name it. They just know when it's missing. And they slowly begin to withdraw when it is. You can't fake emotional presence. It's not about nodding while she talks. It's not about repeating her last sentence to prove you're listening. It's about putting your phone down. It's about holding space without trying to rush her emotions. It's about looking her in the eye without checking the clock in your head. Women can sense when a man is sitting in his masculine stillness, when his energy says, "I'm here, I see you, and I'm not trying to escape this moment." That kind of presence does something to her nervous system. It calms it, it grounds it. And when she feels that, she doesn't just open up emotionally. She begins to trust you in ways you can't manufacture with charm or gifts. Because now, she doesn't feel like she has to fight for your attention. She doesn't feel like she has to be loud or dramatic to be heard. She can just be. And that, for many women, is one of the deepest forms of connection. What many men fail to understand is that women don't need constant advice. They don't always need answers. They don't want to be managed. They want to be met. An emotional presence is the way you meet her where she is without trying to drag her somewhere else. It tells her that you aren't afraid of her feelings, that you aren't made uncomfortable by her truth. And when she sees that, she relaxes into herself. And here's the irony. Most men think emotional presence makes them soft, but the truth is it takes an incredible amount of masculine strength to be fully still, fully attentive, and fully receptive to a woman's inner world. It's not weak, it's rare, it's powerful, and it's exactly what most women are secretly craving but rarely find. So the next time she speaks, don't just listen to her words. Listen to her energy. Feel the weight behind her silence. Let her finish the sentence she's scared to say out loud. Let your presence tell her, "You're safe here. You don't need to edit yourself around me." Because a woman who feels heard without judgment will reveal parts of herself that silence could never hide. And that is where real connection begins. One of the greatest emotional longings women have, yet often hide, is the desire to feel free enough to express everything without being judged. Not just the sweet parts, not just the pretty emotions, but the raw, messy, vulnerable ones too. The truth is, most women have learned to filter themselves around men. Not because they want to, but because past experiences taught them that being fully expressive makes them too emotional, too intense, or too much to handle. So, what happens? She censors. She softens. She keeps her storm tucked inside a calm exterior. Not because she's manipulative, but because she's been made to feel unsafe in her emotional fullness. And yet, underneath that restraint, she's silently yearning for a man who can hold her as she is, not just when she's easy to love. When a woman feels emotionally safe, when she senses that she can cry, rage, laugh, doubt, or fall apart without being met with criticism or discomfort, something powerful happens. She expands. She becomes more transparent. She starts speaking the truth that lives beneath the performance. And that's where intimacy deepens. But emotional safety isn't about agreeing with everything she says. It's about giving her the space to be. It's about holding your ground without dismissing hers. It's being curious, not controlling. Too many men think leadership in a relationship means fixing every emotion she expresses. They rush to resolve instead of reflect. But most of the time, she's not asking for answers. She's asking for acceptance. She wants to be able to say, I'm overwhelmed today, without you trying to correct her or make her more palatable. Because when you try to contain her emotions, what she hears isn't love, it's rejection. She doesn't feel helped. She feels like a problem. Here's what emotionally mature men understand. Creating a safe space for her emotions is not a sacrifice of masculinity. It's the expression of it. It's not weak to sit with her sadness. It's not soft to hold her hand through frustration. In fact, that kind of emotional stillness is what allows her to be soft, feminine, and vulnerable around you. She stops performing. She stops controlling. She stops over-explaining. Because now she's with someone who doesn't shrink when she expands. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean enabling chaos. This means creating a space where emotional truth is not punished. It means being grounded enough to say, I hear you, even when her emotions are strong. That calm response teaches her something no amount of words ever could. You are lovable, even in your most unfiltered moments. So ask yourself, are you the kind of man who only accepts her joy, or are you the kind of man who makes room for all of her? Because if she has to hide her fire to be with you, she'll eventually burn herself out trying to keep you comfortable. A woman who feels emotionally free will not only trust you, she'll reveal to you the most honest, passionate, and beautiful parts of her spirit that few ever get close enough to see. There's a silent craving that lives within many women, one that often goes unnoticed and certainly unspoken. The desire to be admired for her mind, not just her beauty. Now, it's not that women don't appreciate being told they're attractive. Most do. But when those compliments only focus on the external, they begin to feel hollow, transactional, and forgettable. And what's even more frustrating? Many men don't realize how deeply limiting it is to reduce a woman's worth to her appearance, even if the intentions are good. The truth is, a woman's physical beauty may catch your eye, but it's her intellect, her insight, her creativity, her way of thinking that sustains connection. And women long to be seen in that space, where her thoughts are valued as much as her curves, where her voice is heard as clearly as her laughter, and where her intuition is respected, not dismissed. When a man chooses to speak life into her mind, when he notices the sharpness of her perspective, the depth of her emotional intelligence, or the way she sees patterns others miss, it activates something far more intimate than physical attraction ever could. It tells her, I see the you beyond the surface. And that kind of recognition, it stays. It creates a bond that's emotional, intellectual, even spiritual. The problem is, many men haven't been taught to look beyond what's visually in front of them. They compliment her outfit, her smile, her body, but they don't ask about her ideas, her passions, or the meaning behind her choices. They speak to what's obvious, not what's personal. And so many women are left feeling deeply unseen, even when they're constantly being noticed. It's not that you shouldn't tell her she's beautiful. You should, but also tell her what her perspective made you think about. Tell her how her conviction made you question your own views. Tell her that you admire the way her mind organizes chaos, or how she speaks truth even when it's uncomfortable. Those are the things that make a woman feel appreciated on a soul level. And those are the compliments she remembers long after the moment passes. Because here's the thing, beauty fades, but insight deepens. Charm can attract, but intellect sustains. And the women who are the most magnetic aren't the ones constantly trying to be desired. They're the ones who feel safe to be intelligent without apology. But that safety is often granted by the man who's wise enough to see her for more than what meets the eye. So, I'll ask you directly. When was the last time you complimented a woman on her thinking, not just her appearance? Let's just say, women are not dependent on appearance. When was the last time you made her feel beautiful because of her brain, not her body? Because a woman who feels seen for her mind will not only offer you physical intimacy, she will offer you depth, partnership, and a kind of respect that no surface level connection could ever replicate. And in a world obsessed with appearances, be the rare man who makes a woman feel beautiful for who she is, not just how she looks.